Wammo breakfast time for On the Box on the radio. It's TV Talk with Chris Philpott at stuff.co.nz. Chris, good morning.
Hey, how are you?
Very well, thanks. We're kicking off with a chat about some news coming through about True Blood.
Yeah, it appears Alan Ball, who's the showrunner, the creator, the chief writer, the creative force behind adapting the novels for TV, he's decided to step down as showrunner at the end of the 5th season. So they're in production of the 5th season right now. It looks like Alan Ball's decided he's had enough. He wants out. It's not the first time he's said as much. He's said in the past that he isn't enthused by True Blood anymore. So now he's just made it formal. End of season 5, he's stepping down. He'll still be involved as a writer, but he won't be the showrunner. He won't be making all the big decisions. So
okay, how do you think it'll affect the show?
There's two ways it could go. Number one is he could be really the driving force and the only guy who gives a crap about the show, so it could go completely down the toilet. But I mean, as I say, he has said before, Alan Ball has said before in interviews that he's had enough of True Blood. He thinks he's taken it as far as he can take it. So perhaps bring in some new blood will actually invigorate the show, will make it, take a step up to the next level. It'll go somewhere new. It'll come across as a bit more fresh, some new ideas coming through. So that's something that could be worth looking forward to. And I mean, that's only if it eventually goes into a season 6.
Yeah.
The ratings suggest it probably will.
Okay.
But, it could get cancelled before then.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to think about the last season. I can remember little bits and bobs of it, but it's starting to get to be forgettable, isn't it?
It is. It really is. It's gotten to this point now where the storylines all seem to be just going around in a circle. They're coming back on top of each other, and it's just, it ends up being Suki. He's in love with Bill and with Eric, and then they're trying to work that out, and Tara gets into trouble, and it's all a bit repetitive. So some fresh ideas on that front might be a really good thing for the show.
Indeed. Okay, on to actually we're on to the review, aren't we? The Oscars, of course, was a big event on TV this week.
Yeah, well, we had the Oscars Monday afternoon, New Zealand time. They kicked off around 2:30. Unless you were watching the red carpet coverage, which started at 11:30. I ended up sitting on stuff.co.nz. We did a live blog, myself and Moata Tamara, one of the other bloggers. So we chatted all the way through the Oscars with readers and stuff. It was very
cool.
fun. But the Oscars themselves, it was a really weird ceremony. I mean, the Oscars traditionally they're very safe. They don't really do anything too edgy. They don't like to do like the Golden Globes, where Ricky Gervais, had a laugh at the expense of all the stars in attendance. The Oscars don't like to do that. They're a bit more of a classy affair. But what happens is the whole ceremony comes over as it's just really safe.
Yeah.
It's a really safe ceremony. There's nothing going to offend anyone, and you go in and it's just, safe. I keep saying it, but it's the right word for it. So what happens is the ceremony on Monday was really, really over the top. It was plain. It was vanilla flavored, you would say. Billy Crystal ended up stepping in as host after Eddie Murphy stepped out, and Billy Crystal he was Billy Crystal. He did the same jokes he's been doing for 2 decades at the Oscars.
Yeah.
And then the ceremony itself was very nostalgic. Everything was sort of built around this idea of looking back at, wow, movies are great. Remember how good movies were when you were little? They had montages of actors telling about the first film they remember seeing in theaters, and then they had montages of great Hollywood films from the past, and it was all these clips of films from the 70s and 80s and early 90s. And it just really, it gave off this kind of a vibe of, hey, we're going to give awards to these new movies, but remember how good movies were? I think if I was an Oscar-nominated film in 2012, I might be a little bit offended, perhaps, that they weren't celebrating the Oscars, the movies now, as much as they were celebrating the movies before, the movies of old.
Unless you created a movie for 2012 that looked like it was made in the 30s.
Well, there's that too. You're right. The artist kind of stepped out as the big winner of the night, along with Hugo, which was set, I think, back in those days. And even the movies that were all selected were all throwbacks to older films. Midnight in Paris is just a classic Woody Allen pick, which is just like every other Woody Allen movie of the last 40 years. And as I say, Scorsese's Hugo it was an old family drama like the ones they used to make. And The Artist was an old black and white silent movie like they used to make for our great-grandparents. It's all just very much, I don't know, you get the sense maybe that perhaps Hollywood knows that they're not doing anything particularly interesting or new anymore. And they're trying to grasp onto what they used to have. But as I say, the ceremony itself, not really great viewing. There was a couple of good speeches. Brett McKenzie's speech was very good.
Yeah.
Christopher Plummer did a great job with his speech for Best Supporting Actor. But aside from that, it was all very just vanilla.
And
the best thing that's come out of it, I think, is Angelina Jolie's right leg.
I was going to say the leg. The leg is that's all I ever heard about the Oscars.
And that's the most entertaining thing about the whole ceremony now.
Yeah.
2 days later, and that's all we're talking about. I think that says a lot for the Oscars themselves.
Yeah, indeed. Well, on to what we shouldn't be watching because it's not on TV here yet in New Zealand. It's Fringe.
Fringe, Series 4 of the sci-fi show Fringe is on in the States. It's just finished up. It's taking a little mid-season hiatus for a few weeks, as they do in the United States. Every 2 weeks they take a 2-week break for some reason. I don't know why. But Fringe is I just wanted to talk about it. Are you a Fringe fan? Have you ever been a Fringe fan?
No, but that's not through actually watching it and deciding I don't want to. I just haven't seen it yet.
Okay, so Fringe is the sci-fi show where basically there's a character named Olivia Dunham who investigates strange paranormal phenomena. She's like Mulder and Scully rolled into one for 2012. And what happened is now in the second series and the third series they introduced this idea of alternate universes where there was action happening in two different universes in the third season, and they would jump between the two universes. One episode would be in one universe, and then the next episode would be in the next universe, and then the third season kind of melded the two universes together, so now they're just one universe. This all sounds very confusing.
Very convenient as well for creating stories when you've got alternate universes, but yes.
It is convenient, and the problem we've got now, and that I wanted to bring up, was this. Season 4 is now repeating storylines. There's a bad guy who's just appeared in Season 4 who appeared in Season 2 in one universe, and now he's appeared in a different universe now, and he's still alive, and they're basically doing the same exact storyline that they did. And I wondered if this is it's a damaging thing for the show, I think. What do you make of that? If you get to a point in a story where you're in a position to repeat a storyline, and this kind of ties into True Blood as well, you get to a point where you can repeat a storyline. Is it better to try and repeat that storyline under different circumstances?
Yeah.
Or is it better to try and do something new that might not work?
Probably something new, but are they trying to... Do they think that there's a new audience that might come on board for this season, and they're and they reckon their past storyline was a bit of a winner, so let's rehash it for this new audience that may be coming on board for some reason?
I think in the case of Fringe, their ratings dropped, so what they're trying to do is retain audience.
You love that storyline so much, stick around, we'll do it again.
Yeah, exactly. This one worked before. We're better to do that, do something safe that we know will work and will come off on screen, than try something new that might not work and might turn precious viewers away. Because if they turn too many viewers away, I mean, that's it. They get cancelled. So
now, from what I hear, there's actually a really good story arc that goes on in Fringe, and there are some really good sci-fi. But through one or two of the seasons, you had to get through kind of the monster of the week scenarios where the storyline wasn't really progressed, but you just had this week we've got a monster to deal with, next week we've got another one. But there is a good arc there somewhere.
Yeah, that would be the first two seasons of the show were like that. It was real monster of the week stuff. And that kind of format still carries on now. It's just that it ties in a lot closer to the ongoing story. So, Olivia Dunham, for example, is having trouble with her identity. So what happens is they do a story with a monster of the week character who is having trouble with his identity. And it just really is these blatant reflections of what's happening in the characters' lives also happening in the lives of these ringing characters that are there for one episode. And it becomes a bit you don't really care. You start seeing it and you just think, well, that's a bit lazy. maybe. I don't know.
Fringe is what we shouldn't be watching and perhaps shouldn't be watching, I suppose. What's coming up on TV this week in New Zealand?
Well, this week we've got 3 big shows. The first is The Almighty Johnsons, which starts tonight on TV3. One of my favourite shows of 2011, so I'm really excited that the second season starts tonight at 8:30. And you can see an interview with Emmett Skilton, the lead actor from Almighty Johnsons, on the blog today.
Cool.
Little plug there.
Yep.
Tomorrow night we've got World's Strictest Parents New Zealand starting at 8:30 on 1. And I just wanted to mention this because I need to voice how disappointed I am that we just keep getting rehashes of international shows. There's no unique New Zealand shows coming out. It's just a New Zealand version of something that they did somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then the big one for me next Tuesday is Frozen Planet. The finale is titled The Epic Journey and airs next Tuesday night, 8:30 on 1. Now, it's kind of a greatest hits episode where it's all clips from throughout the series. So if you haven't actually watched Frozen Planet, next Tuesday's episode might be the one to tune in for. You get kind of a best of and just see what the show was like, get a taste for it.
Okay, that sounds good. Otherwise, I might be catching it on Blu-ray or something, I think, in the future as well. Here it'd be just really good to see on that. And also a final tip for me, this probably should have been in what we shouldn't be watching section, but I don't see it coming back here to New Zealand, is Damages. I just finished watching the last episode of season 4, which is the takes me right up to the current play at the moment. And Damages, great season. Glenn Close in it is just, she's an amazing actress, and she plays that hard-nosed lawyer character really, really well. And the show deals with a lot of current big issues like the world economic crisis and sort of the people that could be involved with that. It deals with Afghanistan, deals with the environment. It's very, very good. So if you can get a hold of that on DVD, then really, really recommend Damages. But that's
awesome.
Us for today. Thanks very much, Chris. People can find the blogs up at stuff.co.nz. Chris Philpott NZ on Twitter